A few weeks ago, I ran the worst 3K of my life. I got my pacing completely wrong, went out way too hard and paid for it later in the race. Since then, I've been thinking about how the best runners in the world seem always so controlled and make pacing look almost effortless. So today was all about redemption. I wanted to trust the process, stay composed and prove to myself I could run a time in the 3-kilometer distance I was actually proud of. And definitely, I did not expect what would happen next. And so before we get stuck into this video, I am pleased to announce that by the time I post this video on YouTube, I will have completed all my GCSE exams. Get in there. So with a long holiday on the horizon, it means I've got plenty of time and I don't want to be sitting around and being bored. That's why I decided to launch my new podcast known as the Runner Bean Podcast, where I'll be getting lots of inspirational running guests on. So make sure you check that podcast out and give me a follow on Spotify for the upcoming episodes. Anyway, enough of this boring talk, let's get into why I think pacing races properly is the key to getting PBs this track season. So guys, why is pacing so important? Well, I talked already a little bit in the intro about how I had this 3,000 meter race a few weeks ago and it went terribly wrong because I went out way too fast and I just died after the second half. So yeah, I was definitely, fair to say, quite annoyed that I had such a terrible race. But to be honest, looking back now, it's probably good that actually happened because it taught me one of the biggest lessons in running. Pacing matters a lot. I think every runner has to learn this lesson at some point. You know, you can have all the fitness in the world, but if you get pacing wrong, then it can, really ruin your race, really. And obviously, yeah, the problem is when, the gun goes off, you're feeling good, and you get tempted to go a little bit fast at the start. That is when things can go wrong, to be honest. And yeah, to be honest, that is exactly what happened to me. So yeah, if you spend all your energy in the first few kilometers of a race, then you're just burning all your matches and then you'll have nothing left towards the second half of a race. And if you look at some of the best runners in the world, it's fair to say they're definitely pretty good at pacing. Take Josh Kerr, for example. Watch his races and you'll notice he rarely panics. He stays relaxed and composed and calm and, puts himself in the race early on without doing anything crazy from the start. The same goes for Keely Hodgkinson. Even in the 800 meter where everyone is absolutely flying, she knows exactly how hard she can push before getting to the finish. And someone like Cooper Lutkenhouse has shown the exact same thing. For such a young athlete, he races really smart and doesn't, charge off really fast at the start, like how his other competitors do. And to be honest, it's not just track either. Look at marathons, you see every year people go off way too fast and they just blow up. So with that said, I think the best way to pace a race is definitely to negative split it. So obviously that means starting slower than you finish, because that means, you're not going to blow up. You're going to feel good in the second half of the race, and then you're going to be able to have a good, strong sprint finish. So that is really going to be how I'm going to pace tonight's race. I'm going to negative split it, not go out too hard, and just work my way down with the pace. And with that said, let's get going to the 3K race. Let's go. So after a good old warm-up, I was feeling really fresh and tapered from the previous days. And to be honest, it was just one of those days where I knew, things were clicking and I think it could be my day today. After a bit of nervous waiting around and the usual pre-race tension, we finally got underway. The goal was simple: don't go off too hard. I learnt that previously 2 weeks ago at the 3K race where I just went off way too hard and faded badly. This time I stayed patient, and from the first lap I felt really bouncy and strong. The pace just felt really controlled, and the first kilometer went by surprisingly comfortably in 3:30 per K. At that point, I knew the real race was about to begin, so I focused on staying composed and keeping the rhythm going. As the laps ticked by, I started noticing other runners beginning to fade, which was helpful because I was able to pass them, which gave me an extra boost of confidence, and it really reassured me that I was pacing the race well. I went through the second kilometre slightly slower in 3:32 per K, but still that was already beyond what I expected from myself. Before the race, I wasn't even sure whether I'd be able to hold these kinds of splits, so seeing these times gave me a huge confidence boost. With just 2.5 laps to go, it was time to leave everything out there. The pace really started to bite, but I kept pushing, and before long I found myself closing in on Claire Elms, an incredibly fast multi-time world and British age group record holder, so a massive shout out to her. And it was just 100 meters left to let everything out there, and I crossed the finish line, looked at the clock, and I couldn't believe it. 10:33. A massive 33-second PB. So to take that much time off my personal best in a 3K, that was something I'm genuinely really proud of, and it made all the hard training worthwhile. And after the race, there were some very important post-race interviews awaiting.
Okay.
Initial thoughts of the race.
Yeah, so I was not expecting a sub 10, so when Anne came up to me,
But you did it. You did it.
I realised that every time you do an interview, I always look like this. Look away
fine.
from the camera.
Wait, no, don't look at me. I'm wearing sliders and socks.
Look at her lovely sliders.
I would lend you
Guys,
my-
look at this track season weather. It's raining.
great.
Anyway, well done. Moving to Freya.
I'm not home.
Moving to myself.
So tell us about those
Yeah, so I ran 10:33. 2 weeks before that, what did I run? 11:30. Whatever. I came last.
12 minutes.
So this is proof, guys. If you fail, you will improve, guys. You need to. It's all about the mental battle in running. If you keep going.
And take rest days.
Yeah, I was told to take a rest day. I took a rest day and ran a PB. So I'm pretty happy with that. Let's go. It's raining now. And there were some great PBs set by my teammates today, so well done to them. So after spectating some crazy fast races, it was time for a much needed warm down. Guys, we've got a PB. Nothing much more to say. So happy. You know, this is why you train through the dark hours of day at running club, when you do it and you don't want to do it. This is why, you know, if you persevere, you will succeed. You will get such good races if you keep going. And after a good old shakeout, I was solely focused on one thing, to get some good old fueling, consisting of a bog standard Charlie Bingham Moussaka. What more could you really want? And of course, a little sweet treat at the end, which was a Solero, which hits every time. So guys, coming away with a great PB, I'm actually really happy how I was sensible in my approach to negative splitting the race. And you know, it shows you guys that, you know, if you do that, you're gonna reduce the chance of just blowing up, and you're gonna enjoy your race a lot more. So yeah, if there's one thing I've learned, it is to not go out too hard, because you're not gonna win the race or run your PB in the first lap. It's gonna be through the finish that the result will show how well you did. And guys, if you pace races right moving to the future, who knows how good you can do, and who knows how much time you can, you know, cut down from your latest PB. And with that, guys, I'll leave you with that. Make sure to run because it's fun, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. And shout out to Lily Weeks for being a fellow subscriber on this channel, and keep going with your park runs.